Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Goodyear Autocare Warana V8T2 E-Series. We are live with you from Mosport for the Mosport Park 100. We have a very special guest joining us in the commentary booth tonight. He is the voice of the Nationwide Tracking Systems V8 Super Series, the man of many knowledge, the man who does commentate in the real world and on the sim world. He knows his stuff. Zach Cabane, how are you, mate?
Matt, good evening to you. Good evening, everybody. Good to have your company on a Wednesday night. A little bit of rare for me because normally I'm off commentating with our friends over at the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. But nice to be jumping in with you at a critical point of the GAC series. And as you've been telling us on a Tuesday night, mate, and I now get to see it with my own eyes, the quality of the racing here so far this season has been superb. And that's reflected in two things, I guess, when you look at the championship points, which I know JP will throw up for you in a moment. Firstly, 5 different winners in the first 7 rounds. And 2, the championship leader only got on the winners rostrum last week. So it sets us up nicely for tonight. Not only that, but when you look at the championship here, mate, the fact that we have more entries on the grid for this race than what we did for the Nationwide Tracking Systems, the main series, the main course to what is the dessert tonight. And I'm going to steal that because it was my idea before the broadcast. The fact of the matter is that we've got more cars here, which just goes to show that across the board, the popularity is huge when it comes to the SimShed broadcasting platforms of supercar racing. There's the championship points, mate. Do us a favour, run through it.
Right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Matty Scholes, last week's race winner, and as Zach said, only put himself on the top step for the first time so far in 8 or 7 rounds last week. So Matty Scholes out on top with 970 points with a nice buffer of 18 points over Daryl Hockey in second place. Our man Nicky G down in third with 950 points. Kai Turner, a big deficit last week, copped the drive-through penalty. Unfortunately put him all the way back down into 32nd position. He's now down in 4th position after being demoted from the top step with 935 points. Dan Stevens down in 5th with 930. On 920 points, we've got Sam Noble. Dean Alessi down there in 7th with 898 points. David Nash, he was 2nd place last week, so he's up there in 8th position with 873 points. The young Rehan Lienage, he hasn't been much of a show recently. He's had a few unfortunate races, but he's down there in 9th, still holding into the top 10 there with 866 points. And Tony Gaffer rounding out your top 10, ladies and gentlemen, with 822 points. Now, Zach, the big talking point is obviously the young Rehan Lienage, as we let the championship points just scroll through there for everybody at home. Only 11 years of age, young Lienage.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it's quite incredible, isn't it? He's got more talent in his pinky finger than I've got in my entire body. I mean, it really puts all of us to shame that the 11-year-old's coming in here and impressing. Yeah, okay, sure. Hasn't had the results for the last couple of weeks, but as we've seen from the old boy in the NTS series, the talent is very much in the gene pool. And I guess the other important thing too is that, and we've got it over in the GSRC as well with the up-and-comers series, 10 and 11-year-olds, holding their own against the more experienced campaigners, and that's not just saying sim world experience, that's life experience as well. So the old blokes, I don't know if they'll be too happy about the 11-year-olds coming in here and giving them a thumping, but it'll be interesting to see how Rehan goes tonight. In fact, just as we speak, he's gone to 3rd fastest on the timesheet. So hopefully after a couple of off weeks, as you mentioned, tonight might well and truly be his time to shine. Also, interesting point that I want to get your viewpoint on as well. I just like noticing the top, I think it was 8 separated by less than 100 points. That just goes to show how tight this championship is, and we'll get another reflection of that, or indication of that rather, as the race goes on. The other big talking point, and this is a guy that's come from the series that I commentate, the NTS, down to the GAC, Micah Lima Surya. Is this a case of small fish, big pond, big fish, small pond? What do you think?
Yeah, very good question. And as we go through this, we'll get JP to bring up some track notes for you guys at home to have a look over. But Micah, he's unfortunately just obviously didn't gel with the NTS boys. So obviously he's going to try out at GAC. He's going to try and just get some more track time under his belt and refine that driving of his and hopefully be able to step back up next season. As we see the track map up on your screen now for the Motorsport Park 100. It's a total of 3.96 kilometers in length tonight, Zach. 26 laps, so 10 laps shorter than what we had last night, and just over 100 kilometers in distance, 102.96 kilometers to be exact. 44 litres of fuel restriction, so it's up by a couple of litres from the boys in the NTS last night. One pit stop only, so there's not 2 pit stops in this series, there's only one, with an average fuel burn of about 2.75 litres a lap, and obviously 2 sets of tyres, one to start on and one during their pit stop. Our race start is just 10 past 3 on the 7th of April 2021, with a beautiful air temp outside of 26 degrees and a nice warm track to let these V8 Supercars eat around of 39 degrees. It's northerly wind direction of 3 kilometers an hour, so not too much is going to play havoc down there on the back straight, which is good. So a few boys are going to be getting up and under those big rear wings on the back of those cars and trying to get a good draft coming into the final tricky section of the track. But another big talking point through here for me, Zach, is just go back to my notes, is Anton Gilbert, the race control chief steward. He's now finally been able to step out and actually get some time in the seat. So obviously yourself, myself, and everybody at home haven't been able to see how Anton's going around the track. So tonight's going to be a good night to see, as we have a Coghlan engineering car, but I believe that might have been Michael and Asuria go off in the background there. And
Whoa.
another E1 sim driver having a big slide. I believe the purple car is 919.
Anton Gilbert,
Anton Gilbert, as we were talking. So obviously still trying to fight that car around, get used to it again, but he is currently sitting down in 22nd position. Nice qualifying back for him. And obviously the head honcho of the E1 racing group. So there's a couple of those boys out there tonight. In Force, he does have a big crew. So, but Rehan, as I get in my back ear, Zach, and as you would have heard, Rehan Leonage is now pipped up into 2nd position. So the young gun is definitely on fire.
Just have a look at the times. 0.07 of a second separates 1st and 3rd on this grid. Scholes, Leonage, Turner. Incredible. And of course, Scholes and Leonage have picked up round wins so far this year. Turner more than most. Leonage is there with a point to prove tonight. And then outside of that, not too far away, Nash, Campbell and Reddit. And there's only 0.13 of a second separating them as well. And Lee Masuria, almost identical time with Reddit. He's in 7th. So, I mean, you've got less than half a second separating the top 9-10 cars in this field. It is just extraordinary. As I say that, Lee Masuria to 5th, Campbell and Reddit 6th, 7th. Nobles jumped up into 8th position. So this is going to be incredibly tight and tense when we do get underway. A couple of things to make note of too. Cairns has got 2 green lights, 3 green lights make it now as well. We've got the NTS entry here of, I believe that's Leonage on screen, but he's coming into the pit lane. So he had good sectors, but he didn't go through with the lap. Matt, a lot happening here very early on, so let's backtrack for a moment. You mentioned that the races are shorter for GAC compared to NTS, so 12 laps shorter tonight than last night. You mentioned the increased fuel starting rate, the restriction there, up 5 litres on last night, so obviously that makes it easier for these guys that they get home on one stop. That also takes out a bit of the strategy play with NTS. We have that decision. Do we go with our fresh tyres first stop or second stop? It's one option and one option only here in this series. So everyone will jump onto a fresh set of rubber in that first round of pit stops. The only key point of difference will be, because of that extra fuel capacity, is when they'll come in and top up, when they'll opt to, will some split it down the middle at, 13 laps is halfway? Will some go, 12 or longer. 14? Yeah, we'll wait and see. So that's another interesting talking point for mine. But there is so much to be excited about going into this race. And as you said to me off air before we came on here, expect it to be fast. Last night, 38 laps, a smidgen over 50 minutes, not 51, 50, between 50 and 51 minutes. It was just quite extraordinary. No safety cars either. and that'll be the only point of difference here tonight between these guys, matching it in terms of kilometers per hour average speed, and not because the pace at the pointy end of town, a 17.97 is pole position. So I think I'm not sure where we were last night. I think we might have just snuck into 16. So there is a little bit of difference between the top and the second tier, and that'll be the only difference tonight, I could imagine, between outright speed as well. So, I mean, mate, take a breath and hold on, because for the next, 40 minutes actually, it's going to be less than that.
It's going to be about 35, 33 minutes I'm going to call tonight. So
it's just, it's going to be hell for leather. And the only thing we got to keep an eye out on is pit strategy and potential for safety cars, because with 40, yes, we got through last night with 32, 33, 34 cars, I think it was. Tonight, we've got 38 on the grid. So a few more cars, a bit more traffic, a bit more potential for maybe a safety car, but we'll wait and see as old Barney does his thing there on the flag stand and waves the checkered flag. About time he rocked up, actually. He always seems to go missing in action at the end of the race, but he's always happy to wave the checkered at the end of qualifying. Not sure what that's all about. Let's have a look at this grid in just a moment, Matt, and run through it, because, by gee, there's a lot of talent. And it's a very tight, condensed field. Look at that, 0.4 of a second separates the top 12 on the grid. This is going to be extraordinary.
It certainly is, Zach. Out of row 1, we have Matty Scholes and the young Rehan Leonhardt. Out of row 2, we have Kai Turner and Damien Cairns. David Nash and Michael Masuria make out your row 3 there, ladies and gentlemen. Troy Allen and Mitch Campbell not far behind him on row 4. Dean Reddit and Sam Noble out of row 5. And the rookie Dylan Pereira and Jonathan Bain out of row 6 there, as we let the page scroll on over. Out of row 7, we've got Dan Stevens and Peter Latham. Nikki G and Dean Alessi make up your row 8. Brian Good and Daryl Hockey. Bit of a surprise there, Daryl Hockey down in 18th position. He had a really good race last week, but he's down there in 9th position. Pony Gaffer and Aaron Raccanello out of row 10. Colin Bruns and Anton Gilbert from E1 Sim Sports out of row 11. Stephen Black, Dean Williams out of row 12. We got Luke Georgeson, Aaron Hayden out of 13. Out of row 14, we've got Jamie Davis and Steve Martin for you, ladies and gentlemen. Dylan Lagarde and Paul Gerlin make up your row 15. David Clark, Stephen Banks out of row 16. Craig Casper, Peter Kelly out of row 17, and making up your row 18 is Andrew Johnson and Thomas Foster. Geez, it's a big field tonight. We've got David Clark and Stephen Banks out of 16 there, sorry. Craig Casper, Peter Kelly out of 17, out of 18, Andrew Johnson and Tom Foster. As I said before, we didn't really scroll that far, but Robbie Bradbury and Craig Gurry out of 19, and obviously we have our Gavin Saylor from Pace Syndicate. As the lights go out, ladies and gentlemen, for the Goodyear Autocare Warana V8T2 E-Series for the Motorsport Park 100. And Matty Scholes leads them down into turn 1. Blistering start from Kai Turner. Rian Leonard's just bogged a little bit off the start, losing out one position there. And by the looks of it, he's got a lot of pressure by David Nash behind him. But Kai Turner and Matty Scholes looking to bolt, as we have a car off in the background. It looks like one of the E1 Sim Racing entries.
Anton Gilbert.
Anton Gilbert as well. As they come up into the hairpin for the first time on cold tyres. Hard on the brakes they go. Whoa. David Nash right up the back of young Leonage there. Gives him a little bump. And now to drag race down the back straight. Tuck up under that wing. Get up on the inside. Leonage does to protect it from the pounding David Nash. What do they do here? We'll stay on screen for you, ladies and gentlemen. Around the outside, he has a look. Does he make a move up the outside of Leonage? No, he doesn't. Slots in just behind, but he might have another crack. We will see. Slots in behind. Nice, clean driving there by David Nash. He knew that he wasn't going to be able to get it, but he has another look up on the inside of last turn as they come onto the main straight for the first time, and they all sort in from one another. But Zach, there is your first start for the GAC, mate. It's if not probably the same, if not somewhat better than the NTS boys.
Hectic stuff at the front, Matty, nicely called. Kai Turner up one spot, Rehan Leonage down one. Nash, Lee Masuria both up one, but Damien Cairns dropped 2 spots there on the opening lap. So that's second through 6. Skulls continues to lead comfortably at the moment. I say comfortably, but it's only 0.3 of a second. An inch is as good as a mile in the early stages here. Down through the rest of the top 10, Mitch Campbell was 7th. Troy Allen, Dean Reddit and Sam Noble the top 10. The latter 2 staying where they started, 9th and 10th respectively. Big mover on the opening lap was Nicky G, of course, up 4 positions from 15th to 11th. Also, Colin Bruns up 4 as well from 21st to 17th, and Dean Williams from 24th to 20th. So 4 seems to be the peak number at the moment, including Craig Casper down there in 29th from 33rd on the grid. Dylan Pereira down 26 positions, the big loser on that opening lap, and also Anton Gilbert down 11. And look at Dean Williams there in position number 20 at the moment, wanting to give Brian Good a big hurry up through the back section of the circuit. And I'll tell you what, I didn't mind that aggressive play from David Nash either, Matt, at the start there, just giving the youngster in Leonage a little bit of a hurry up. It doesn't matter how old they are. Once they get on the racetrack, it's every man for himself. Have a look at Jamie Davis running wide through the back section of the circuit off the back straight there. As soon as you catch the grass, you're a passenger, but they did well to take evasive action. Until then, bang, big smash.
KFC entry just taking out Jamie Davis there. I didn't quite catch the car number on the side, but there is definitely some damage there. But unlike the NTS series here, Zach, they do have a fast repair, luckily, so they'll be able to get that car fixed up, but that is their only lifeline for tonight around here, as Michael Lemasuria makes a move up on the inside of Rian Leonage to take away 4th position. David Nash now up into 3rd position, hunting down Kai Turner, as Matty Scholes and Kai Turner have bolted almost. They have bolted. There is easily 3-second gap in there. So they have bolted from the front of the for the rest of the field, as we just file down through the rest of the field. Matty Scholes just goes across the line with a 1:18.38. That is the fastest lap. 1:18.35, my apologies, as he just posted. So those two, Kai Turner and Matty Scholes, they are on absolute fire. They're almost a full second quicker than the rest of the field, and they are really saying to these boys, hurry up and come chase us down. Let's see what you boys have got. Few people dropping down the order, as I can see, but by the looks of it, it's been a pretty clean start. No, they're all slowing down. So this is a safety car. We have a safety car out on track.
Wow. There you go.
Safety car out on track. I'm not sure. I couldn't see on one of my other screens why it was deployed. I'm sure we might be able to grab a simsnap.com replay as to what has happened. No idea, though, as I get word in my ears. So this is interesting news. I'll just listen out on the radio to see who may request a tow. But there it is. Blake Urquhart in the Lamborghini GT3 Goodyear Autocare Warana safety car. And Zach, it's actually been quite a few weeks since we've seen that safety car out on track.
Been quite a few weeks across both series, actually, since we've had the pace car intervene. But at long last, we have a pace car intervention. Safety car boards and flags and lights ablaze as they make their way around on what is lap 4. I mean, that didn't take long, did it? They go nice and quick here, the laps in the GAC T2E series.
You say it's lap 4, but they're last.
Yeah, exactly right. On to lap 5 we go. Scholes, Turner, Nash, Lee Masuria, and Leonage, the top 5. Now, this is interesting because safety car bunches the field up, so the top 2, Scholes and Turner, come back to the pack. Also, too early to consider a splash and dash and a pit stop and obviously tyres, anything of that nature. So, unless you've got a reason to visit the pit lane, be it to drain that fast repair that you have up your sleeve, and we see the car on the side of the road is the reason why. And I'm not quite sure who that is, if I'm perfectly honest with you, but the fact of the matter is that that's the reason for the safety car, so we at least know what we're dealing with now. Bunches the field up, but now we get ready for stanza number 2 of this race. As I say, this will also stretch out the fuel window. If everyone's smart and plays their cards right, they'll save a little bit of fuel here. So what was going to be, provided that the tyres, hold up, and based on what we heard last night in the NCS series, they should. So this just stretches that fuel window a little bit further. But alternatively, it means that you can also come in at the same time as you were planning to and fuel up to the brim, that you'll be taking on less of a fuel up than what you would have been otherwise because you've used less fuel in your stint. So there's a couple of different ways to play this. You can play the long game, you can play the short game, and that fuel window now becomes maybe 4 or 5 laps instead of 2 or 3. So it's going to be interesting. This is what happened to Stephen Banks. This is the reason we're under caution.
Blown motor, most likely.
Yeah.
Look for the puff of smoke. Yeah, I think he might have blown his motor just as he's come over the hills. So, pulled it off to the side, gave race control a call. There it is, 777 blown motor. So, he's obviously called the tow truck. But, Zach, while the safety car is out, the action has died down just a little bit. There are some sponsors to go through. So, there is obviously our main naming rights sponsors for tonight, the Goodyear Autocare Warana for the V8 T2 E Series. We've also got Blue Stampede Labour Hire and Abruzzi Raceway Australia as the safety car pulled in, and we are back underway already. That happened very, very quickly. Matty Scholes pulls away from the field. We'll get back to the sponsors in just a second. Kai Turner runs it wide by the looks of it. Runs it out wide on turn 1. That allows the Simshed Broadcasting to get up on the inside. I believe that might have been... I'll just get my thing. Michael
Lemasurian, yeah. Yeah, so
Lemasurian comes up the inside, takes third position, and he's now hunting down David Nash and Matty Scholes. So he's looking to make up some positions tonight and hopefully get a good result. But Matty Scholes, still your race leader. Ladies and gentlemen, Rehan Leonage is now down in the 5th position, giving some pressure, or trying to make up some ground to Kai Turner, I should say. Mitch Campbell not far behind, down in 7th position there. Troy Allen, Dean Reddit, and Sam Noble are making up your top 10 here, ladies and gentlemen. But the big talking point tonight is Michael Limasuria on the race start. He is up 3 positions from 6. Making up some good ground and obviously getting a good race in with the guys up front as he has a look up the inside on the last corner. Does he make it stick? Yes, he does. Kai Turner was in the action as well. Almost 3 wide, coming down into turn 1. And there goes the freight train around David Nash. Kai Turner says, thank you very much, Lee. I am going to take this position away from you, David. No, but Eddie's still on through turn 2 as he runs off onto the grass. Kai Turner goes. Another incident for Kai Turner. That is unfortunate. Our 2-time race winner, back-to-back winner in the past couple weeks, is run wide off the track and drops all the way down into 20th position, down 17 spots. But Michael Limasuria up now 4 positions into 2nd place, Zach. He's having an absolute stellar as we go to a simsnap.com replay.
This will be a replay of what happened to Turner here, off into the grass and all over for him. And that's his 2nd mistake off the restart. So that's the other point that we missed there in that very quick safety car intervention. It just adds a little bit of pressure to the situation, a little bit more of a tense nature to the race at hand. Jamie Davis was the other car off in the background there. So Kai Turner's felt that pressure. Cold tyres and a few other factors there off the circuit, twice in as many laps off the restart here. Huge implications as far as the championship is concerned and a few other factors here. Back down the main straight. Scholes, Lee Masuria, Nash the top 3 at the moment. I loved how Lee Masuria wanted to gang up on Nash there. Rehan Leonage, of course, one of the losers off that restart, down to position number 4 as well. 19 laps to go. You've got to say Matthew Scholes is looking good at the moment.
Yeah, Matty Scholes out to a very comfortable lead. He's got a 1 second gap over Limasuria there. But he is going to be looking at trying to get that gap down to under half a second to try and get under that rear wing of his and try and hold on to him. David Nash not far behind him, only half a second behind them. So it looks like to be a 3-car battle up the front for the leady as we go back to Rehan Leonage down in 4th position and Damien Cairns down in 5th. Troy Allen, Dean Reddit, Sam Noble, Nicky G, and Jonathan Bain now round out your top 10. So, mate, it is all action-packed, and it is only lap 8 of 26, and we've hardly even managed to be able to catch our breath. Definitely a few scraps going to be getting thrown down the throat tonight, for sure.
More so for you than me, actually, I have to say, which is a rare.
And I'm sure you're absolutely lapping this one up instead of having to be the one with all the words to say, as we're on board with Brian Goodyear looking out the back of towards the Dragon RC entry of Aaron Racanella. And if that car got any closer, and I'll say it every time I see that Dragon RC entry, those eyes I do not want to see behind me.
You mentioned Anton Gilbert earlier. He's lurking down there in 25th position at the moment. It's interesting. We had a real-world experience where we took a person from the other side of the fence and put him in a race car recently. His name was Roland Dane. He went racing XLs at Morgan Park recently. Not with the greatest success, but he's just enjoying being on the other side of the fence for a change. In fact, he said to me in an interview, he said, I'm learning why I wasn't a professional race car driver all over again. These guys are just, they're in a different universe. But let's have a look at this. Troy Allen at the moment on screen here. This is the battle for 5th. Of course, he's all over the back of Damien Cairns. He's got Dean Reddit for good company as well. Sam Noble, Nicky G and Jonathan Bain not too far away. Here's Anton Gilbert in 25th. I tell you what, that was close. That was very close with the two cars in front. So that's 24th and 23rd. Dean Williams and Colin Bruns as well. And we've got to keep our eyes on there as they come back onto the main straight. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is lap 10 of round 8. 10 to go, including this one in the championship, the GAC V8T2 E-Series drive-through penalty for car 952, an unsafe rejoin causing contact with 058 on lap number 7. So Mitch the 058, yeah, Mitch Campbell's the one coming to pit lane. But Johnson was the one also caught up in that. And good to see race control acting very promptly on these matters so that most of our race incidents can get dealt with in server rather than being a post-race affair, because that just makes it confusing for all and sundry. It makes more paperwork for your poor old JP here as well as they head down the back straight one more time. But that's the great thing about this series, Matt, and I said it at the top. We mentioned it in qualifying. Just everywhere you look, our timing screen's lit up yellow and orange at the moment, which means there's battle packs everywhere.
It's not just little battle packs everywhere. It is a battle pack, ladies and gentlemen, from 6th position as... gone by Troy Allen. Does he readdress this position? We'll stay on board for you as they come down into turn 1. But as I was saying, Zach, it is not just a battle pack here and there. From 7th position, or 6th position, should I say, right down all the way to 26th position is a one line of, or just a constant line of V8 Supercars ready to bring it into the top 10 and bring it into these front runners.
Yeah, indeed. Take a breath and hold on, folks, because now that we're back under green conditions and we've got rid of the safety car, the intensity's just lifted here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Back onto the back straight we go. We go 2/3 the distance of our NTS colleagues on a Tuesday night, but by gee, we fit just as much intensity, drama, excitement, and action into it. It's like Bill Laurie. It's all happening here at Mosport. Nicky G on board with him at the moment. He sits 9th. Just ahead of him is Dean Reddit and Sam Noble, and also Troy Allen as well. 4-car pack. And behind Nicky G, you've got Jonathan Ben, Peter Latham, and Darryl Hockey as well.
A middle finger racing freight train.
Sam Noble into the pit lane, so he's the first one to jump. Is it an early pit stop, or can he get home on 16 laps?
Well, if my calculations did be correct, Zach, you might be able to correct me on this. Your maths are a little bit better than mine. I believe it's about 16, 17 laps to a full tank of 44 litres. But as we got Andrew Johnson, the back runner, now about to get lapped by Matty Scholes, this is going to become a pivot point. Does that allow Limasuria to close the gap? Will Andrew Johnson hold up Matty Scholes here? Lights are flashing all over the back of Andrew Johnson. Does he get the toe? Yes, he does. Down the back straight they go. Andrew Johnson moves to the inside, allows Matty Scholes to go past, allows Lee Masuria to go past as well. And does he let David Nash go by? Yes, he does. Backs out of it and lets them all through. Good driving by the back runner there. As my timing board just lit up with an off track by Peter Latham as he dropped down 3 spots. As Dean Reddick goes up on the inside of Daryl Hockey. Oh, sorry, Troy Allen. Sorry, my apologies. Troy Allen and Dean Reddick battling as there he goes. Dean Reddick into the pits. He goes to another pit stop. And Daryl Hockey follows him in as well, as that promotes Nicky G up a couple positions. And Brian Good is also in the pits. So this is definitely a big fuel strategy playing out here. It's a lot of people pitting early. There's a lot of people pitting just as the laps go on, Zach. So you should be able to help me out with maths with the fuel correction. I believe it was 17 litres, wasn't it?
So 44 litres is the restriction. 16 laps at 2.75 a lap is the fuel burn. So on those numbers, these guys get home from where they're pitting now. There's no problems there. But what's going to be the interesting point is the longer these guys go at the front, the fresher their rubber's going to be at the back end of the race. So watch that with interest as well. That could be the difference when we get to the end of lap number 26. Here's a simsnap.com iRacing photography replay for you. This is Troy Allen. And this is going to be
in the hairpin, turn 5 and 6.
5 A, B, C, D, the alphabet, as we call it.
Runs it wide, big slide, and catches it. Good driving.
Didn't lose a position in the process of all that, so that worked out well.
Worked out very well.
Rehan Leonage in the lane as well, boys. Scholes, Lee Masuria and Nash continue on. Great run so far from David Nash, as I said at the top. Wasn't afraid to just give Rehan Leonage a little bit of a glare there at the start, right on his bumper bar, and just say, listen here, youngster, I'm here to play. And Michael Lee Masuria will get the same message, no doubt, very shortly. Have a look at how busy pit lane is at the moment. Back to Dean Williams there in 11th. Colin Bruns behind him, the 588 of Craig Casper as well. Now we have a race on our hands here. You're right about lap traffic. Good to see that Scholes wasn't impeded in any way, shape or form. The back markers have behaved themselves really well, not just tonight, but throughout the course of the series as well. 13 down, 13 to go. We're past half race distance. Dean Williams, we're watching him at the moment. This is an ongoing scrap with Dylan Lagarde, David Clark, Dean Williams, Colin Bruns, all in there as well. And everyone from 14th down, with the exception of maybe one or two, have come in and completed their pit stop. So it's just this top 13 we've got our eyes on at the moment, because really, two things. Those that have been in for a fast repair already, they're out of business in terms of the outright race result is concerned, because they've got to pit again anyway. Even with the safety car, it's not going to do enough help to them. Leaders are in. Scholes, Lee Masuria and Nash. And the second is, if you haven't pitted now and you're buried in the mid-pack, forget about it as well.
3 wide down the pit lane. It is going to get busy. We'll stay on board for you, ladies and gentlemen, with your top 3 up on jacks. They go. We'll watch these pit times as they roll up on our screens, and we'll see who's going to be getting the jump, who's going to try and do the little fuel-saving game. We know Lasses Leonage last night played that fuel-saving game. Matty Scholes off the jacks, gone. And who's that out behind him? That was
Nash, then Leonage.
Nash, and Lee Masuria over-fueled by the looks of it. Lee Masuria only just got out of the pits.
Lee Masuria was there 5 seconds longer than anybody, actually 10 seconds longer than anybody else. So Lee Masuria plummets down the order to 12. So he's the big loser and all that. And you have to ask yourself, what's going on there? Did he overfuel? Did he just miss the marker and have to come back into his spot? I don't know what's going on there for Michael Lee Masuria. Really bizarre, but race costing move right there for Micah. He was right in contention up until that point. So that the game changes yet again. Now, interesting also to note here, boys, Damien Cairns, Luke Jorgensen, Aaron Hayden, they're all heading to pit lane this time by Dean Williams, David Clark as well. Have a look at this, actually. That's the battle on screen. Clark going through on the inside of Williams to P4 now. Very nicely done, but I suspect they come to pit road this time. Oh, well, actually, no. Clark continues on, so does Aaron Hayden. So let's wait and see how this plays out. Does the overcut work, or does the undercut, if you can even call 14 laps an undercut, does that work for Scholes?
Oh, it really depends. But don't forget they were behind that safety car as well, Zach. So they will be looking at trying to maybe do the old. We'll stretch this fuel run as long as we can, and see if we can throw some fresh treads on and pump out some qualifying laps closer to the end of the race. So it's all coming down to these next couple laps. Who's going to be the big movers? Who's going to be the big movers? As we have a battle from 8th position right through to 20th position, even further all the way down into 23rd position.
Big straight from Hayden. He almost threw it away there.
I'm lucky Zach caught that because I completely missed it as I was running through the timing sheet. So this is why we have 4 eyes in the commentary booth as Lemuria gives a little bit of rub to Sam Noble as they're coming into turn 5 and 6, A, B, C, D, Z, Y, Z, X, whatever you want to call it, ladies and gentlemen. As they come up, it is a drag race tucked under the rear wing. Lemuria goes behind Sam Noble, starts to get into the draft, top of 6th gear. Sticks the nose out, shows in the headlight, just jumps in behind. Maybe next lap he'll have a crack. But why don't we head on board with
let's do that.
With Matty Scholes as they come through turn 1. We'll take everybody through a flying lap and then we'll crank up the volume for you at home, ladies and gentlemen, as David Nash goes at 1:18.29. Let's do an onboard lap as they come down the hill of turn 2. Let it run out wide onto the curb, up into 4th, back down into 3rd gear, hug that curb nice and tight, then let it run nice and wide out to the left-hand side of the track to try and limit as much wheel spin as you possibly can. Flick it to the right, flick it over to the left, coming down the hill, back down all the way into 2nd gear from 5th, round to the right, 1 apex, out wide to the left, click the next apex, out onto the curb, click it up all the way into 6th gear. Excuse me. It is full on around here at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. You do not get a break until you get on to the back straight coming into the last part of the circuit. Top of 6th gear, 260, 270k an hour. Plug it down into 4th. Ride it round into the right. Trail brake a little bit. Down into 3rd gear. Round to the left. Bring it nice and close to the left. Flick it back right. Ladies and gentlemen, crank up the volume and we'll go ahead with Matty Scholes and have an onboard flying lap. Ladies and gentlemen, how was that? On board with Matty Scholes, our race leader, with David Nash just behind him for a flying lap around Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, also known as a Mosport, as we're here for the Mosport Park 100. As we are on the screen now with Damien Cairns in the switch panel. Entry coming through turn 2. He hasn't moved any positions from the race start as he's up there in 4th position. But just behind him, only 3.5 seconds down the road, Zach, up 4 positions, we have Dean Reddit. Then there's Mika Lemuria, Sam Noble, Dean Alessi, Troy Allen, and Nicky G up there in 10th position. But big movers in the race. Zach, Luke Georgeson up 11 positions. Stephen Martin, Dylan Lagarde up 10.
Whoa,
as Nicky
look
G
at that.
up the inside. Should I say not up the inside, but Jonathan Bain and Nicky G battle it out as Nicky G gives him a bit of run. Coming through
Great
turn 5 and
save.
6.
Right, not from Garrioch, but from the other one. I missed that. But I tell you, I missed the number, I should say. But holy moly, the race has just gone off here.
A big slide. Close the door.
Dang,
There he goes. So that's going to be one for race control to have a bit of a look at, I think, Zach. That was from my eyes here, Nicky G gave it the old squirt up the inside. He had the drive to get up in there and show him halfway up the car, but by the looks of it, the door just got closed on him very, very quickly, and I don't think he expected it either.
Very abruptly. Here's Dina Lacey under all sorts of pressure as well from Troy Allen. And they do want to keep on the black stuff through turn 2 there as well on the way up to 3. So Scholes and Nash, half a second separates them at the front of the field. Leonage is clear 3rd, Cairns a clear 4th, and Reddit a clear 5th, but he's got Lee Masuria trying to close in at the moment. Noble and Lacey, then Allen and Stevens the top 10. We were halfway through, or you were halfway through. Biggest movers of the race. Well, Jorgensen's gone up 12 positions. He's sitting there in 14th at the moment. 11 for Steve Martin in 17th. Also, Dylan Lagarde, 11 positions gained in 18th. Outside of that, Peter Kelly's gained 10 positions, and Robbie Bradbury, 12, 24th and 25th respectively. And then you go further down the order and there's not really anything much to mention there. So a lot of big movers outside the top 10, but not many inside the top 10, the biggest being Dina Lacey with 8 positions gained. Now, talk about pressure further back in the pack. The battle packs resume. So at the moment, it's hip and shoulder stuff here as they fight for track position coming onto the main straight.
And it is a middle finger racing. Yes, it is Leonard. That is Luke Georgeson. And he is getting freight trained by the middle finger racing boys. He has got middle finger racing boys all around him. He's got 2 behind him. He's got 1 in front of him. And then there's 1 not too far down the road.
Oh, good move, Jorgensen up the inside. Sorry, Matty, I've got to jump in there. That's a brilliant piece of driving from Jorgensen to go through into 11th now. And now he's got the 3 middle fingers behind him. It actually sounded much better than only 2, but they're superhuman, obviously. Round onto the back straight they go. And now he's got 3 middle fingers after him instead of the usual 2. Drive through for car 74 contact on the 411 on lap 18. So that was the instance we saw there a few moments ago. Jorgensen. So Jorgensen is coming to pit lane. So all the middle finger boys are just going to get the last laugh on this one. And don't worry, the middle finger will be out as they go past. 5 to go at Motorsports. Scholes leads from Nash. Only 0.4 of a second separating first and second at the moment. Let's have a look at that. And then Rehan Leonage is a bit too far back to be a contender at this point unless something happens with our leaders. But I tell you what, I don't envy you boys on a Wednesday night. This is a bigger workout for the voice box than what a Tuesday night is, and I thought that was a challenge.
Well, I guess with the Tuesday night, you get to have a bit of a longer race. They're trying to jam-pack a 30 minutes or just over 30 minutes of racing into such a short broadcast. So don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, the post-race show will be extended just a little bit. We'll have a good old chat with the boys when they come in, and we'll see maybe even a couple other drivers might jump in for a bit of a older chinwag and a chat. So as we are still on board with Matty Scholes and David Nash, our 2 race leaders, and they are both from the Riot Sim Racing Group. And they're a force to reckon with at the moment, Zach. The Riot Sim Racing boys, they've had some good results over the past couple of weeks.
I tell you what, they'll ride if they don't get the 1-2 here at the moment. I mean, this has been a tremendous performance. They've just checked out. They've cleared out from the rest of the pack. Now, will they play strategy here? Will David Nash look to say, look, I haven't had a win yet this season. I want to win. Or will Matt Scholes come in and say, no, I want to go back-to-back? Is that how they're going to play this year?
No, David Nash is actually due for a round win. He had a round win back in round 2 at Barber Motorsport Park. So, him and I believe him and Rehan actually had a very, very good battle up there. And that's probably one of Rehan's best finish. Well, Brown finished up in second at Long Beach and then finished at Barber. So Rian's had a few good results at the start, but then he's faded away, but came back last week at Sebring to have a second. So, a sixth. So, Rian Leonage is definitely due for a podium, no doubt. And David Nash is also due for a win. So, there might be maybe team orders. There might not be team orders. Matty Scholes, he's only had the one win, which was last week. So he's going to be maybe wanting to go back-to-back wins and maybe aim for that hat-trick and get one up on Kai Turner, who was also had a back-to-back win. So maybe it might be team orders, maybe it might not be, Zach. But we have a car around in the background there on top of the hill, and that looked like Luke Georgeson, and it looked like a big one. As we go on lap 24 of 26, does race control bring the safety car out? I doubt it very much as we go to a simsnap.com replay. Zach, talk us through what happens here, mate.
Whoa, Anton Gilbert for starters. He's guarded the wall in a big way. Now, don't tell me that, straight in T-bone. That's what's happened. So we got Gilbert out, and we got the other car as well involved in that, Jorgensen, who's only just come off pit lane from serving a drive-through, I think it was. So that's a really, that's an anticlimax, a real disappointing way to end the night for those guys. Here's Rian Leonage doing a great job in third at the moment. And my apologies, I had an Anchorman moment there, Matty Davis, because when I went through the points matrix earlier, I read Kai Turner as the round winner in round 2, but he was second. There was just 2 P1s listed on my sheet for whatever reason. So instead of going down and fact-checking, I looked at the first one. I was like, yep, that'll do. I'll run with that. But no, of course, David Nash did win at Barber Motorsports Park. So that makes it even more impressive that we've had 6 different race winners so far in this season. And unless Rian Leonage gets a monumental miracle in the next couple of laps and these teammates take each other out, it doesn't look like that list is going to grow any tonight. He's Dylan Lagarde under all sorts of pressure at the moment. I tell you what, there's some hip and shoulder. 2 in the grass. They go 3 wide down the line. It's 4 wide. Look at that. That's insane.
4 supercars down the main straight of Mosport Park, Zach. That is something you do not see every day.
That should not be legal. There's no way they should have all got through there cleanly.
No,
there should
not at
have
all.
been someone scraping concrete. Unbelievable. But that just goes to show why the GAC has been a showstopper so far this year for you, ladies and gentlemen. There's Scholes, the leader. A lap and a quarter to go for these guys as they stretch off the end of the back straight. That's been a magnificent performance from Scholes. Nash has followed him every step of the way here. I think they'll be happy to just follow each other home in that order. Scholes being the championship leader, thinking long game here with 9 rounds to go after this one, of course. Last lap board in Canada.
Us home, Zach. Bring us home on the last lap. I'll hand it over to you, and you have the floor. Let everybody at home listen to that glorious voice of the NTS Super Series.
So Scholes and Nash only have a second the margin here. Leonage has had a great run. You guys mentioned at the top of the broadcast that he was due for some form. He's found that tonight. Kent, impressive to fourth. And Lee Masuri to fifth as the boys make their way down towards turn 4 and 5 for the last time. This is Scholes going for back-to-back wins for an extension of the championship lead. Remembering, of course, that the lead coming into this round was only, where are we, ladies and gentlemen? Only a handful of points, only 3 or 4 points. It'll be a slight
18.
extension on Darryl Hockey, and that's a good thing going forward with 9 rounds to go here. So Scholes and Nash up on the outside, not making a play for it as they make their way through turn 8, 9, and 10 for the last time, which is really 11, 12, and 13, but they insist on this ABC rubbish. We reckon it'll be a form finish, and that's exactly what they're lining up for. Last turn, checkered flag. Scholes goes back-to-back and wins the Mosport Park 100. The Goodyear Autocare Warana T2 V8 Series for you here now on a Wednesday night on SimShed Broadcasting right around Australia. And they dominate with a 1-2 in Canada, the second Canadian round of the season, and Scholes further cements his position at the top of the leaderboard, and no real surprise there. Rian Leonage to third. Good to see him back on the podium.
And as
and Michael Mysterio rounds out the top 5, Matt. That was an awesome race. Intense right from the outset.
It was, mate. It's definitely intense, and my memory had been jogged for me. Rehan Linaj actually would have taken out second place last week at Sebring if he didn't have to avoid Daryl Hockey. Unfortunately, he copped a drive-through penalty, I believe. No, he didn't cop a drive-through. No, he didn't. He actually he came off the track a little bit there and just dropped down a few positions. So, unfortunately, a bad result for Rehan last week, but none of his own doing, just had to avoid a car on track. But the young Linaj back up on the podium. The old man definitely should be happy. It's been an NTS podium in the NTS Super Series and the Goodyear Autocare Warana V8T2 E-Series for you, ladies and gentlemen, as you're on screen with Matty Scholes, our race winner in the 605 Riot Sim Racing ZB Commodore. What a race that man has had. He's led from start to finish. He's gone from green to checkered. There's not much of a better race. He's starting to really, as you said, Zach, cement himself in this series and prove to him why he's up the front, why he is leading the championship. As he comes around the last corner, and we all know what this means, mate. It is the best time of the broadcast. Absolutely. Slows down, gives it the old flick across the start line, and away he goes for his victory burnouts. So, light him up, Matty Scholes. Let it rip, potato chip, and have some fun.
No, just clap the wall. Why not?
As he does, but we'll bring up the unofficial results for you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to the hybrid racing simulations. They'll be up on your screen in a jiffy. Just waiting for a few more cars to come across the finish line. Zach, while we're waiting for that, mate, what are your thoughts so far on the GAC?
Well, actually, let's just run through these race results.
There we go.
Matty Scholes in position number 1. Nash, Linaj and Cairns made up the top 4 with Limassuria, the first forward, in 5th. So again, Holden go 1, 2, 3, 4, just as they did in the NTS race last night, and 8 in the top 10, whereas last night it was 6. So Holden cementing their dominance across the 2 championships at the moment. Limassuria, Noble, Reddit, Lacey, and then, of course, Turner and Allen, the top 10 over the page. And this is the big talking point that I want to go straight to when we finish here. Brian Good, Daryl Hockey in 12th, Williams, Pereira, Lagarde, Martin, Bain, Gaffer, Bruins, and Jorgensen. After that drive-through comes back to 20th over the page again. Garriock, then Gerlin, Bradbury, Latham, Racanello, Casper, Stevens, Campbell, Clark, and that is the top 29, all finishing on the lead lap. Thomas Foster in behind them for 30th. And then a long list of retirements a lap down here. Johnston, Davis, Hayden Kelly, and then the retirements, Black, Sadler, Banks, and Gurry. I mean, that's just incredible that we had 33 cars finishing either on the lead lap or just a lap down. Matt, question for you, because you follow this series every single week. That's a big championship defining round for your race winner, of course, in Matt Scholes, because his main protagonist, who was only, as you correctly pointed out, and it was just my poor eyes not computing for me and not working at the time, it was 13 points, not 3 points coming into this round. The fact of the matter is that he was first and Hockey was 12th tonight. So a big leap forward as far as the championship is concerned, which will be reflected when the updated points come up very shortly.
Definitely is, mate. He's definitely put out the lead over everyone tonight. And Daryl Hockey, he'll be kicking himself tonight. Obviously, Motorsport's not really blending with him, so he's going to be going back to the team and obviously having a debrief and wondering what happened, where he went wrong. But as we finish up with that, Zach, our winning drivers, our top 3, Matty Scholes, David Nash, and the young Rehan Linaj. Join us in the commentary booth, ladies and gentlemen, for the post-race show and for some interviews as you go to the simsnap.com replay as it just winds over in the background there for you, ladies and gentlemen. I guess we'll start off, Matty, with you, mate. You've gone from green to checkered. You obviously had the fastest lap time out there for qualifying. Put yourself on a pole position, got a blistering start, as we can see up on screen, and then just held your form the whole entire race. Obviously, Motorsports 1, to really gel with you by the looks of it. You had a very comfortable race out there. How did you find it, mate? And what are your inputs?
Mate, it was really good fun, to be honest. The setup was good. I did a bit of practice during the week, and it was good to have a patient David Nash behind me there towards the end rather than somebody else. So always good.
Well, I'm sure if you had Rian Lienage or Mikel Limasuri up behind you, mate, you would have been, they would have put the pressure on you a little bit and given you the sweats. But your teammate Dave did a fantastic job there, just holding off in second. Was there a little bit of push and shove come to I want another race win, or you want to go back to back? Was there any conversation going on back in the team chat room?
Nah, not really, mate. Dave was sort of just saying eyes forward every time I'd see the car lurk up the back straight there. So, it was good fun, actually. It was good just to be out there and no one else around us. So, it was good.
Now, obviously, 26 laps around here. It's a very, very quick race. I think Zach might be able to get the one for us.
5 minutes and 59 seconds tonight, boys. So
there we go.
So just smidgen under 36 minutes. And had it gone safety car free, well, it would have been, somewhere in the 33 to 34 minute mark range.
Yes, definitely. So 35 minutes out on track there for us. A little bit under 36 minutes. Obviously not a crazy long race, but obviously would have felt long for you guys in the sim. Would I be correct, Matt?
Yeah, towards the end, it started to feel a bit long because I had to do a little bit of fuel saving here and there where I could. As you can see, the burnout didn't last long, so didn't have much left. But yeah, it was enjoyable, to be honest, really. So.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Congratulations on the win. Zach, did you want to add anything? I know you're one with a lot of wisdom, mate, and a lot of questions to ask, so I'll give the floor to ask Matty a few questions.
You're dead set overselling it, but I appreciate it all the same.
And I'll do a formal introduction, actually. Matthew Scholes, Zach Caben, and Zach Caben, meet Matthew Scholes.
Matt, well done, firstly, mate. But secondly, you mentioned that you had to do a little bit of fuel saving. I find that a little bit hard to believe, considering that by our numbers, you would have got 16 laps to a full tank. So am I right to assume that you short-fueled that first and only stop of the race?
I did. It was by accident, totally. It was only when I asked Nashy how much he put in that I realised I'd undersold myself by about 2 litres, and I was out in front the whole time. So, yeah, but it all ended well, so can't complain.
All's well that ends well. And I guess the other point is you're starting to rack up some really impressive stats now because, I mean, I'm only a freshman to this series, but the observation I made at the start was that you've got the championship lead. You've done so with only one race win. You've now backed that up. You've extended your lead by virtue of hockey's misfortunes tonight. So you're really starting to peak at the right time of the season. Can you carry on this form for another 9 weeks?
I don't know about 9 weeks, but we'll do what we can do. I was a little bit unlucky early on. I all through my own fault. So it's just good to get a couple of wins now.
Geez, the pressure was intense in that opening few stages. It wasn't until you and Nash cleared out, your teammate cleared out there in the second. You got to be careful when you use the word Nash because now Nash is one of those names that can be a first name or a last name. So let's just clarify that we're talking about his teammate David Nash for anyone that's just tuning in. It's interesting that the intensity of the first sequence at that race up until the safety car was really on because you had Rihan Lienage, Michael Limasuri, and a couple of others, Kai Turner, breathing down your neck. The safety car really changed things, and it changed them in your favour because as soon as the safety car peeled off, Kai ended up in the grass on 2 consecutive laps, and all of a sudden, here you are with a comfortable buffer to enjoy, and in the end, it worked out wonders for you.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks. It's really, really hard to break away. So yeah, you almost need an error behind you because even if you seem to get yourself out to half a second, you hit that back straight, and all of a sudden they're all over the back of you again. So yeah, fortunate, but I'll take it.
Matt Davis, I'm going to hand back to you on this note, bearing in mind that after the championship points come up on the screen a little bit later on the broadcast, we'll get these guys back and get their thoughts on next week. And obviously they'll thank their sponsors as well, because next week is Germany. It's Hockenheim, and it should be an absolute beauty.
Yes, it definitely will be. Hockenheim, it's a new one for everybody. I haven't even raced there myself yet. And I've actually got to go buy myself the track so I can do a hot lap for you guys next week for the Super Series. So I better get moving during the week for that one. But Matty, again, congratulations on the P1, and it's good to see the F suicide stickers on yours and David's car running on the headlights and the back of the car there, mate. So thank you very much for that one. Over to you, David, in P2. Just behind your teammate. Bit of a formal finish there. Obviously, wasn't quite side by side, but you've got the 1-2 for the Motorsport Park 100. Congratulations, and give us a little bit of insight of how your race was, mate.
Yeah, thanks, Matty. Crazy battles from the start with Mika and Rehan, and it was Kai. I thought Kai and Matthew was going to run away with it, but hard-fought battles, and I managed to make a move. Mika made a move on me as well. Safety car came out, and then went into the pits, and I don't know what happened to Mika. Did he overfuel it or something? Because he was in there for a long time, so managed to get back out in second and stick with Matty.
He's actually sitting in our green room, boys, so we might get an answer to that very shortly, I'm sure.
Yes, we'll drag him in, no doubt, and have a chat with him. But obviously, you mentioned the key word there, the safety car. Now, what was your thoughts when that came out? Obviously, it surprised us here in the commentary booth. We weren't really expecting it. We obviously can't see what else is happening out on screen, but we saw everyone slow down. What were your first initial thoughts, mate, when the safety car came out? Was it, do I have enough fuel to get home? Do I try and limp it around as much as I can and just try and coast it as around? What was going through your mind running through that?
Yeah, there's a lot of clutch. Just coast around, save as much fuel as you can. Obviously, you can put a bit less in. I think you can only save maybe 1.5 liters, but that 1.5 liters can be 1 second. So, yeah, that was the strategy.
Now, looking to the championship for you, mate, you're plucked down there in, if I'm correct, 8th position at the moment. This will give you a nice little buffer having a second position finish up here. You're sort of comfortable sitting that far down in the championship stands. As Zach said, we've still got 9 weeks to go. So you're starting to really look at trying to maintain that top 5, top 3 finish every week.
Yeah, definitely. You just get rid of these qualifying incident points I've got hanging over my head. So clearing that up and just eyes forward and just driving with Matty, practicing, and we're having, battling away in practice sessions is what a lot of people don't do. So yeah.
Zach, mate, I'll hand it over to you for a couple questions as well.
Would I be right in assuming, David, just looking at the championship and the results tonight, that there's a huge emphasis placed on qualifying at the moment? Because, I mean, you look at Matthew, started first, finished first. You moved up 3 spots in the end. Rehan's only dropped down 1. Damien finished where he started. Mike has only moved up 1 as well. So not much movement at the pointy end of town. And the times, as we said at the start of the qualifying session, or the start of the race rather, there was only 0.4 of a second separating the top 12. It is incredibly tight at the top. So that it gives me the vibe, and I'm sure you'll confirm it for me one way or another, that there must be a huge emphasis placed on getting on this circuit as soon as qualifying starts, getting some clear air, lodging a lap time, because otherwise you're buried in the pack and it becomes very difficult from there.
100%. As most people know, you saw from last night, passing can be absolutely brutal here. You can make a lot of mistakes. You can get pushed wide. Once you're on the grass, that's, it's kind of your race over. You're back down 10 spots. So getting up at the point end of the field, I know I qualified in practice sessions a lot quicker. I'm hoping to be up around Matty, but yeah, I'm happy with the Murray P2 result.
Indeed, and I mean, it sits well as far as teams' points are concerned too, because the more you two can rack up at the pointy end of town, the more difficult it's going to be for anyone around you to assert any sort of authority in that regard. And I know teams' points were a talking point last year. I don't know how much of an emphasis has been placed on that this year. Certainly not in the NTS series. We haven't had a chance to scratch that surface yet. But is that something you guys are thinking of going forward?
I haven't actually spoken about it, but the more riot cars we can get up the top, happy days. That if we can get that teams championship, and hopefully, I'm up top 5 end of the championship, and Matty wins it. So that's the plan going forward.
Just also having a look, we mentioned last night, Matt, in the Matt Davis, this is in the NTS broadcast, that there's a huge emphasis placed on 0x races as well. And much like last night with Michael, Lassif Leonage, rather, Matthew Scholes he's cleaned us out tonight. He's taken the whole box and dice. The 5 bonus points for pole, the 5 bonus points for a 0x race. So he's had a night out. David with 1x, unfortunately. So I mean that probably doesn't help in the championship department side of things. But you've got to be happy with how your teammates' forms just come on leaps and bounds the last couple of weeks. Yes, consistency in the first 6 weeks, but then weeks 7 and 8, he's up the game, up the ante, and come home with the bacon.
Exactly. It's good to see your teammate doing well as well. And I wanted to pass him a few times on that lap, but I stuck behind him. I'm sitting down the championship, and the form finish at the over the straight, he went a bit quicker because he knew I'd try to pass him. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what about also, because you were the one that moved up in this race, you went from 5th to 2nd. How much did the safety car help you out at all? How intense were the first few laps before the safety car, and then the first couple of laps after it as well?
I was sort of losing a bit of pace before the safety car, so that really helped me. And then I got the jump really well on Kai at the safety car, so I managed to get into P2, I think, and stick with him. So it did work in my favour.
Indeed, well done, mate. Congratulations. Now we've got Rehan Leonage standing by, so let's go to Matt Davis as we bring him in for 3rd place in the end here. Matt, that was a superb performance from the youngster and an overdue podium as well.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. The young Rehan Leonage unfortunately just didn't bring it home last week at Sonoma. Sorry, not Sonoma, at Sebring. Sorry, down in 6th position there. Yeah, so I'm seeing Watkins Glen lit up in yellow on my screen here, and I'm going, hang on, that's obviously last round. We'll go with that one. No, it's not. It is Sebring. Had a 6th position due to having to try avoid Daryl Hockey. So, Rehan, mate, congratulations. It's good to have you back in the room. It's been a while since we've had a chat with you up here, mate. Congratulations on your 3rd place position.
Yeah, it has been a while, but on this track, because it's a bit tricky and I kind of get the advantage on tricky tracks, I thought, you know what, I'll put a bit more practice into it, try to get all of the practice that I can. And it being school holidays really did help.
Yes.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for my crew chief, my dad, then I probably would have had to settle for 5th. But in the pit stop, he really fueled me very aggressively, like onto our cool down lap, and we had like a leader left.
Well, there we go. It's the crew chief. He obviously had the race win last night, mate, and he is the king of fuel saving around Motorsport or Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So you probably had the best crew chief out of anyone in the field tonight. So obviously you can go thank him after the race once you get out of the post-race show, mate. But back up into the commentary booth after quite a few weeks off. I believe I've just got you highlighted on my screen here. I don't think we've actually been able to speak with you since Long Beach round 1. So, yeah, mate, that is 7 weeks since we've been able to chat with you. Obviously, few good race results in the mix there. You've had a 5th and 8th, the 7th, but a couple bad ones down in 31st at Oran Park and 22nd at Watkins Glen. So not obviously what you want. Sitting down there 8th, 9th in the championship. 9 weeks to go. Is it starting to be a little bit of a concern being that far down the championship board in the top 10 then, or do you reckon you'd be able to fight your way back up to the top and give it to Matty Scholes?
I have a feeling I might be able to get up there a little bit, but it's going to be tough to get up into the top 3. But something that will really help is the drop rounds. That'll change the game.
There we go. Zach, I'll hand it over to you. You can ask the questions to the young fella. Ask him a couple ones before we get to the championship points. And obviously being school holidays, he might be allowed to stay a little bit late, but I'm sure he still needs to have a sleeping pattern of some sort. So we'll let you fire away a few questions, mate.
Actually, that's a good point. Because he is on borrowed time, we might have a quick chat to him and ask him the couple of questions that we're probably going to ask the top two on the other side of reading championship points, which are ready and standing by, and we'll get to them for you in just a moment. In the meantime, Rehan, well done, mate. That was fantastic. At the tender age of 11, when you got the world at your feet, and you know it's a case of being young and free and youthful exuberance and all those other things that we wish we could go back and have all over again, us old blokes. Do you enjoy getting amongst the older blokes there at the start? I noticed that you were toe to toe there with a couple in the opening laps. I think David Nash was right up your clacker. Do you enjoy getting in there and flexing your muscle and getting the elbows out with these older blokes?
Real good fun. It's kind of fun, like when you're in a really close heated battle, especially when you're like aiming for a place and then there's someone on your tail trying to get it. Like pretty much most of the race, I was like fourth or fifth place,
Yep.
and Damien Cairns was chasing me. Each lap he was gaining about a tenth on me, and then finally the tire wear kicked in and I caught up. And then I just pulled away from him in the pit stop and got into another battle with the other top guys. So yeah, it's real good fun.
Matty Davis, remember that point tire wear, because obviously it was a one-stop race, and these guys are very different to the NTS series where they actually only have that one stop, therefore they take the tires in that stop, and obviously it's very different to the other series. So let's have a chat about that at a later point in time. Copy that. Thank you very much, Lee JP. Just getting word through that we're going to lose our lead commentator in just a moment. But in the meantime, let's continue on here with Rehan Leonage. And I've all of a sudden got to take up the anchor plate. So, Rehan, obviously we know what your dad does on a Tuesday night. We know that he's a superstar. There's no doubt about that. How much do you take from, how much do you learn from him just by watching him drive? How much coaching does he, how much of an input does he have into your racecraft? How much coaching does he offer you week to week? And obviously we know that he does the crew chief stuff as well. So how much of an influence is it to have someone as good as Laz in your corner as not just support and crew, but also as the old boy as well?
It's good because he helps me a lot, because just this afternoon he was giving me like 10 minutes of coaching, just sat down with me, showed me where I could gain some time, and I gained 2/10 just like that this afternoon. As for my racecraft, that's just natural talent, and then it's improved over the years, as I used to do karting years ago. So my racecraft is still kept improving, and I know that it still can keep on improving. But the rest of it's just quality pace, trying to get that track position, and he really helps with that.
I'm back. I apologize, boys. I just had one of those moments where Discord just didn't want to compute for about 20 seconds there. It's all gone to hell on a Wednesday night here on SimShed Broadcasting. Hey, Rehan, obviously we're about to lose you here because you've got to jet through as well. But before you do, mate, obviously we're probably not looking long term as far as the championship's concerned. Maybe not until maybe drop rounds come into the equation. But first up, what are your thoughts on next week and Hockenheim? Because that is a new venue. So will it be a case of Lassif going out and cutting loose first, and then letting you into the sim to learn the ins and outs of Hockenheim, or will you go in there and have a steer before the old boy does?
I reckon I'll get a bit of help from him because he's already been doing some laps this afternoon. But yeah, my thoughts around that. I'm pretty confident because I'm not really good at tracks with bumps and things. Trying to drive smooth, it's a bit hard for me as I'm still kind of new to the V8 Supercar. Whereas a smooth track like Hockenheim, I reckon it'll be much easier.
Looking forward to it immensely, mate. Hey, thank you so much for coming in and having a chat to us. Do you want to thank anybody sponsor-wise, team-wise, before you jet through?
Yep. I'd like to thank Simshed Broadcasting, Nationwide Tracking Systems, Goodyear Autocare Warana, Jack and RC, DSL Welding Services, Abruzzi Australia, VR covers Cars for Hope Racing with Autism Australia, and Blue Stampede Labour Hire. And I'd also like to thank my family that have been watching this race. My mum, my little brother, my grandma and grandpa. Thank you.
And of course, don't forget Dad in there as well. But I was going to say, with regards to all of that, I heard the words little brother. Do we have a third Leonage about to get behind the wheel of the sim rigs, please?
It'll still be a few years.
Yeah.
He's only 2 years old, so
Yeah, it won't take long because it's in the gene pool. It's in the blood. There's no doubt about that. In about 5 or 6 years' time, we'll be sitting here talking about the third Leonage coming through and just cleaning everybody up, I'm sure.
yeah. Well, we're gonna try to get him into sim racing a bit earlier so that he has the upper hand against all of us.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey, Rian, well done, mate. Great to see you back on the podium. All the best for the rest of the season. We'll catch up next week, mate. Thank you. JP, if we can, let's drag Michael Lee Masuria in because he's been patiently waiting in our green room here. And as we do, let's bring up the championship points and have a look see here. If you're just joining us, sorry folks, Matty Davis had to scoot through, but we'll steer you through to the end of the broadcast. Maybe we might even get out of here before 10 o'clock. We'll see how we're going. The Goodyear Autocare Warana V8T2 E-Series Championship points at the moment. Hey, that's a big difference, isn't it? I said it was a game-changing round. The fact that Hockey finished 12th and Skulls took the win. 50 points the advantage. First to second at the moment. 11:30 plays 1,080. Kai Turner on 1,069. 4 points back to Sam Noble and another 5 back to Nick Garrioch. Then Dina Lacey on 1,039, 1,028 for Daniel Stevens, and David Nash sitting there on 1,021. Rehan Leonage slots in to position number 9 on 1,017, and then a big gap back to Damien Cairns on 942. We'll let the points keep scrolling there, but clearly a big night for the championship. Still 109 points only separating the top 8 there. It was sub 100 coming into the round. We knew it would grow. But still a few definite championship contenders there. Let's continue the discussion now because our NTS boy who was Little Fish Big Pond has come and become Big Fish Little Pond. And Micah Lee Masuri, I hope I'm right in saying that. Micah, or Mika, I'm not sure of the pronunciation there. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But great to have you aboard, mate. Well done on 5th in the end. It could have been a little bit better. What happened in the pit stop, please?
Thanks, Chris. I forgot to click my tires, so right in the middle of the pit stop I realized my tires were on click, so I had to quickly do it and had to
You're right, mate, keep going.
then I had to click them, so then it took more time after the pit stop, and they didn't change during the field, which kind of sucked, but oh well.
Mate, it happens, but it's those little 1 and 2 percenters. Hey, we haven't had a chance to chat to you because you've jumped down from the NTS on a Tuesday night to the GAC on a Wednesday night. If you don't mind elaborating, what was the reason for that, please, mate?
Well, like in the NTS series, I was getting in a lot of incidents, and well, I wasn't ready for big boys, so thought I might as well try to tidy up my racecraft.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what it's all about. Learn the craft and then cut loose. Hey, on that subject, you might actually have a little bit of an advantage over the boys in a couple of weeks' time because in 2 weeks' time, you've got your first enduro of the season at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil, whereas these boys are used to 35, 36-minute, whatever the case may be, somewhere in the 40-minute mark vicinity races. you're used to the longer races in the NCS series, so that might be your leg up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, haven't really gone to it yet, so yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
We mentioned the youthful exuberance of we're just going to have a look at your action on circuit here now. We've got you there in the SimShed broadcasting rig on screen now. Have a look at that beautifully presented black and yellow, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you know my heritage, you know that I'm from that lovely part of the world called Cessnock in the New South Wales Hunter Valley. The local rugby league team runs with colours very, very similar. They are black and gold. So anything black and gold, all over it like a cheap suit. Love it. Micah, as we go back to you and stay focusing on you for the moment here, when you look at next week and Hockenheim, what do you take out of tonight into next week? Can you take anything at all?
Not really. I'm pretty unsure that I'll even be able to race next thing, so I don't think I'll be able to get the track, which sucks. But
unlucky.
But,
hey, yeah, just quickly, the other question I got for you before you elaborate there, mate, and we were talking about the youthful exuberance of Rehan Leonard. You're not much older than him, are you?
12 still, so
yeah. So
no,
I mean, look at that for you, ladies and gentlemen. You had an 11-year-old in third and a 12-year-old in fifth tonight, just to give you an indication as to how young we start them here in SimShed broadcasting land. Names to watch going forward, because if ever they are allowed to cut loose in the real world. And Mike is obviously a very handy go-karter. I saw him in action with my own two eyes at the Queensland Karting Championships last year. They are names to just slot down in the back of your mind there and remember when they pop up on the big stage going forward. Hey, obviously it's a shame if you can't join us for Hockenheim, mate, but obviously Interlagos after that. There's some good circuits to come in this championship.
Yeah, well, there's a couple I've seen that I'm kind of looking forward. Sucks that Oran Park or Phillip Island got taken off Hockenheim, which is a bugger because that's my favourite track.
Yeah,
So then there's a couple ones I'm looking forward to. So yeah, can't wait.
And I guess the other thing too, mate, when you look at the race calendar, it does suck a little bit for you to use your words that because you've dropped down. I'm of the belief that you won't be in championship contention per se, but this is obviously another 8 or 9 weeks coming up here, depending, of course, your input in next week's event, where you can learn your racecraft and look towards having a proper championship crack in the next season, which will be getting underway, late July, early August, I assume.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I've got really don't know what to say there, but yeah, no, like you said, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, mate. Feel free to stick around and join us for the rest of the chat here, because we're going to press on with David Nash and Matthew Scholes. Great of those guys to stick around and join us and hang around for as long as they have. What are we? 17 minutes away from 10 o'clock. We'll try and get out of here early if we can, folks. Matthew Scholes, let's go back to you. Hockenheim's the next venue. It's new territory for everybody. What's the approach going into next week? Because it's the great unknown. It's a venture into new territory. The track was only put on the simulator on the iRacing platform a few weeks ago. Have you had a chance to download the circuit yet? Have a run around, or is that the mission, the assignment for the next week?
Yeah, no, I jumped on with Nashy last night. We did a couple of laps of it. He's a lot quicker than me. I think he downloaded it a little bit earlier than me, so I'll have a lot of work to do to chase him down over the week. But yeah, no, looking forward to it for sure.
Any opportunity to get a leg up, David? It seems like you're keen to take it.
Hey, I downloaded a day before him, so there's no excuse there.
Well, hey, a day is all it takes sometimes, but we'll see how it all unfolds next Wednesday night, of course, when we're with you. 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, we'll be with you for that. Scholes, you must be really happy with your championship league now, mate. That's 50 points. That is a huge buffer gain tonight. With the bonus points included, you've stretched your lead out an extra 37 points you don't want to get complacent, do you? But obviously, it takes a little bit of the pressure off in the sense that you don't always have to be winning these races. If you're talking team play and gamesmanship, it wouldn't necessarily hurt if David was to pip you at the post, unlike tonight, because you've now got a few extra points up your sleeve and a bit of a buffer there between the rest of the chasing packs. So how do you approach the next 10 weeks? Because there's still a very long way to go.
I'll still be pushing every week, mate. I think it'll be a difference once they put the drop rounds in. I think a few people might pick up a fair few more points. So just continue to try finish top 5 every week, basically.
I mentioned to Micah earlier the fact of this the matter is when you look at the next 2 races, not next week necessarily because that's Hockenheim and that's a sprint race, but the one after that, Interlagos, the fact that the race is a little bit longer, and it's the same with the NCS series. I think it's nearly 250 kilometers, so yours will be somewhere in the vicinity of 175, 200. How do you prepare for the longer races, knowing that you've been running these short, sharp 100K sprints the rest of the season?
Similar preparation for me, really. I actually like that track into Lagos, so I'm looking forward to that one.
David, going to you. Any extra physical preparation required for that one, or is it all mentally, the fact that it's going to be longer and the concentration's got to be on for a little bit longer?
Yeah, it's just concentration for me, and obviously trying to find a teammate like Matty and just stick with him and try to gap the field that way. There's a few drafting opportunities on that track as well, so that's the game plan.
All right, for those of you that are just joining us, good to have your company. This is the post-race show, SimShed Broadcasting's coverage of the GAC T2 V8E series for Goodyear Autocare Warana. We've had a great night at the office. We've had some cracking racing. We've got Matt Scholes, David Nash, and Michael Imasuria here with us. First, second, and fifth tonight. Rehan Leonage has already said his goodbyes. Since you're all here, gentlemen, at this point in time, before we look to wrap things up, let's get some thank yous out of the road. I'll start with you, Matty, as the race winner, and then we'll go to David and Micah.
Yeah, I think the Riot boys, Dino and Nashi in this one, and Craig, who had a computer crash before we started. Goodyear Autocare Warana, the SimShed boys, obviously, and the F Suicide. Yeah, so I look forward to trying to push further in weeks to come.
David, all yours, mate.
Just right, boys, again. It's good keeping each other honest and keeping each other quick. SimShed Broadcasting, JP putting on an excellent show, and the commentating, F Suicide, and that's about it.
Micah, while you're here.
Hey, privateers. So, I got really no on, but I'd like to thank SimShed Broadcasting for the thing, JP for setting this all up. And mind if I add any of my karting sponsors, or that's not allowed?
The floor is yours. Thank whoever you want.
I'd like to thank my karting team, Choose a Course, and my parents for all they do and for giving me a sim.
I was going to say, when I say thank who you want, you could thank the canteen lady at school. You could thank anybody you like. That's the sort of interpret. It depends on how you interpret it when I say thank anybody, doesn't it? Let's straighten up and be a little bit serious for a moment, because we've got a few minutes here, boys. I don't know if it's been publicised in previous rounds, but it's always something worth talking about. Last night, if you were with us, you'll know that we were talking with Alex Cord about the Racing with Disability Australia program and our Racing with Autism, rather, and also the All Sorts Disability program as well. We shined a light on that side of health. The boys have both mentioned here, both David and Matthew, about F Suicide, and we all know what the F stands for. It's not late enough in the night for me to start it. It's a G-rated program, and Mika's only 12. So obviously we know what the F stands for. Suicide's a horrendous issue. It's a statistic that I mean, we focus a hell of a lot on because it is the silent killer, and we look at the way in which we all know someone that's fallen on the sort of suicide over the years. It's unfortunately one of those things that, as much as we talk about it, the statistics remain the same. And I don't really know what the answer is to. Just have a look at. Well, I want to be as serious as I can about the suicide thing, but have a look at that 3 wide action on the back straight. There was 3 wide, there was 4 wide action tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't enjoy what you saw tonight, you're very hard to please. But we all know someone that's been, or someone that's died of suicide, or someone that's been impacted by the death of someone through suicide. I don't know what the secret is to turning it around and lowering the statistics, but obviously, David and Matt, if you don't mind elaborating, there's obviously a very personal reason why the team runs the F Suicide stickers, and obviously there will be no doubt a platform within everything that you guys talk about here for we always mention Beyond Blue and Lifeline, but there will also be other avenues in which people who might be struggling, and let's face it, it's been a difficult 12 months for a lot of people with COVID and other things, a platform in which they can reach out and say, hey, I'm not okay. Matthew, David, anyone?
Oh, sorry.
you're right.
Medi approached us and asked us to put it on the car. Like you said, it's touched everyone in one way or another. Somebody knows someone that's unfortunately gone that route, and it's these helplines and all that. They just need to be well known so people can reach out and touch base with these people to try to stop this. And like you said, COVID's been hard on everyone financially, and financially it can be one of the biggest silent killers. So it's just a matter of trying to broadcast as much as we can for people to reach out and get into the right corridor they need to go down to get through it.
Exactly. Matty, obviously there's a personal element for you here, mate, but the message remains the same. If you're not okay, reach out. There's so many people who find it very hard to talk, but that's what we've got to try and turn around here, yeah?
Yeah, mate, just happy to run that and create the awareness around it all. Basically, if we can influence one person to reach out, then we've achieved something.
Yeah, exactly right. And remember, anyone that's struggling, Beyond Blue, Lifeline, they're all there, and they're there 24/7. If it's someone of a younger age, Kids Helpline and a few others are there to help as well. Like last night, we'll try and do some promotion there where, you can reach those platforms or at least seek information about them through our social media channels. There's no doubt about that. I think we might give ourselves a little bit of an early mark on that note, ladies and gentlemen. I apologise. Matt's had to bolt 20 minutes ago, and not knowing the series well enough, I'm struggling to stretch out the conversation here. But well done to the 3 of you tonight. Mika, a nice start in the Goodyear Autocare Warana series for you, getting up there into position number 5. Let's hope that's the launch pad of things to come. Had it not been for that little 2% tonight, forgetting to click the tyre button on, that could have been a top 3 for you. We know that. Let's wait and see what next week brings, if you're here, if not the week after. David, Matthew, well done. A team 1-2, back-to-back wins for Matthew. Really starting to flex his muscle now with a 50-point lead in the championship. And obviously, we look forward to seeing what might unfold next week, boys. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Thanks, JP.
Thank you.
Great work. That'll do us on that note. It's been a great night of racing. Really intense stuff from the outset, even with the safety car thrown in for good measure. It was one of those races where we just didn't know where to look, and we had more than enough content to fill out the time we were on air for. There's no doubt about that. A huge thanks to Goodyear Autocare Warana, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, Britzy Raceware, and Coghlan Engineering, their input and their support of this series, and all the other sponsors that we talk about throughout the course of the broadcast. SDK Gaming, and also Melbourne Hydrographics Depot, and also Track Cams Gourmet for Track Cam. Yeah, so hang on. Yeah, Track Cams for Gourmet. I had to just scroll down the sheet a little bit further for that one. But no, a huge thanks to all of them, because without them, what we do here isn't possible. I'm just going to quickly bring in, we've got Andrew Collins in the booth again with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. He's been sitting there listening to everything we've been broadcasting, because hopefully in a couple of weeks' time, when I return to my GSRC commitments on a Wednesday night, this guy's going to be able to hop in and help Matty Davis out for the rest of the championship. Mate, what do you make of tonight? Because for someone that's only, and I'm a bit like you tonight, I'm a GAC virgin in every sense of the word. It's the first time I've had a chance to watch the series this year. The racing was intense, 100 kilometres, a lot less time to get the job done than the 150 kilometres last week. But no shortage of entertainment.
No, mate, the racing was awesome, to be honest. You look at that young Rehan, 11 years old, such a respectful, well-spoken kid. More talent in his little finger than I've got in my whole body. Definitely a name.
Said that earlier.
Yeah, definitely a name to look out for. Same as Micah. And just to for David and Maddie, I used to be an admin of a Facebook page called Blokes Advice, where we dealt with a lot of suicide and had to talk a few people off train tracks and stuff like that. So good on them for backing it on their cars. And
absolutely,
yeah, no, it was an awesome race to watch, and it was good to sit here.
Looking forward to, yeah, absolutely, mate. Thank you very much for jumping in there. Looking forward to more of the same next week. Have a look at that. Big difference when you go to Hockenheim, 23 laps, when you go to Interlagos, 46. So big difference in the intensity and the drama and the excitement next week when we go to Hockenheim, as opposed to the week after, when we get our first of two Enduros out of the way for this season. And then the second leg of the Triple Crown the weekend after that. You might notice too, folks, a bit of a change in the broadcast times there as well as we look ahead. Hockenheim, the next stop, Tuesday, Wednesday, 13 and 14 of April, 8:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Up until last week, that was going to be 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. But with daylight saving ending, the blokes down south, the casting the majority vote, they like the later start. So we've all moved to 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, which I have to say works well for me, because it means I can have dinner at a decent hour instead of when it's being served up in the old folks' home or at the end of the broadcast, whatever the case may be. So that's good news there. And that'll be the same for the rest of the season, because the qualifying sessions have been shortened from 40 to 30 minutes, and therefore the races are starting bang on the bottom of the hour at 8:30 rather than 8:40 as they were beforehand. So next stop is Hockenheim. It's the first and only stop in Germany this season. And just having a look at the calendar so far, it's our first stop in Europe, but not our last, because look at the back end of the schedule. Donington Park, Silverstone, Spa, Brands Hatch. So it's the first of 5 stops in Europe. And, of course, we've got South America, the US, and also Australia all represented in the back half of the season as well. Next week marks halfway as we go 8 down, 8 to go. But that midway point, round 9, is a critical stop on the calendar, and we're looking forward to it immensely. 33 laps on the Tuesday night, 23 on the Wednesday night. Chris Kisby with me on Tuesday night. I'll be in here with Matty Davis on the Wednesday night, and he did a bang-up job tonight as lead commentator as well. Looking forward to more of the same next week. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We've greatly enjoyed bringing it to you. Back-to-back wins for Matty Scholes, getting the job done. Frantic 36 minutes at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. For the team, for JP, Matty Davis, for all of our crew, thanks so much for being with us, and we look forward to doing it all again next Tuesday night, 20 past 8 Australian Eastern Standard Time, as the Nationwide Tracking Systems V8 Super Series and the Goodyear Autocare Warana V8T2 Series return on Simshed Broadcasting. Until then, have a great night, everybody. I'm Zach Caben. Bye for now.
I just say, mate, thank you very much for having me sit in again. It was, good lesson to learn and picking up a lot.
You are most welcome.